Successful people don't get to where they are just because of blind luck or who their dad is. Well, most people don't. It's down to their mindset. And in this video today, I'm going to share with you the exact top 4 ways I changed my mindset for growth and how you can too. I'm also going to share with you my all-time favourite hack for growth where your mind is concerned. It's only one word, but we'll come on to that in a minute. But first, a mindset is essentially a theory you hold about yourself. So it might be that I'm clumsy, or I'm stupid, or I'm never going to be good enough to play tennis at Wimbledon, which is actually personally one of mine. But it's probably something that's deeply ingrained in you, and it's been there since your childhood. So you may recognise this scenario. You stand up in class and you go to answer a question to your maths teacher and you get it wrong. And your maths teacher says to you, "Oh, well done, Johnny. You're never going to be an accountant because of your maths." And that comment sticks. And what happens is you believe you'll never be capable of that, and it becomes part of your mindset. Now, one of the biggest habits of highly successful men and women is their abilities to stretch themselves and push themselves out of their comfort zone. What else makes them successful? Their ability to cope with change, their ability to cope with failure, the way they choose to look at the outside world, the amount of grit that they have, and so on and so on. And these are all things that come down to your mindset. So, how do you develop a positive growth mindset for yourself, especially when you've been stuck in your ways and playing off an old loop from childhood? Let's dive into it now. So, point number 1. You have to learn to see setbacks and failure as part of the process and not the destination. So Thomas Edison obviously invented electricity. His teachers at school told him that he was stupid and he'd never amount to anything. Got Katy Perry, who got dropped by 3 different record labels before having success with her 4th. Do you think either of these people thought, "Do you know what? I haven't succeeded on my first attempt, that's going to be it"? What matters is how you personally react to failure. So if you see it as part of the process, so you're working towards something, maybe you've got a big project at work, or you're trying to sell something in your business, you actually factor in that failure is going to happen in the first place. So when it does, it doesn't come as a surprise, and you know that it's part of the process and you keep going. And you can do this again and again, so that when failure occurs, you keep going because it's part of the process. I think I learnt this the really hard way because growing up, I was a huge people pleaser and I wanted to get everything right the first time. I think this holds so many people back, especially professional women, because they want to get things perfect. And so now my mantra, I would say, is done is better than perfect. It might not work out the first time, but if you see it as part of the process and you see it maybe as an experiment, you can keep going. So, point number 2 to growth. You can only control the controllable. This seems like a really obvious and simple statement, but bear with me. An accurate assessment of how much you physically control in any situation is actually really important. When you understand what you personally can control, you then can take better action, speedier action, and get more things done. People with a growth mindset might look at a situation, especially if it seems like a disaster, and say to themselves, "This is what I actually control in this situation, and this is what I don't." So a really great way to manage this and to begin to develop a growth mindset for yourself is to make 2 lists. A list of things that you can control in a situation and a list of things that you can't, especially if a situation seems pretty daunting to you. And what you might find is that you can control more of that situation than you realise, but also the stuff that you can't control, you have to learn to put to one side. So what I like to do with this, especially if it seems something is really daunting, is I make that list of things I can't control, I then burn it, so it's completely out of my mind, and I just focus on the things that I can. This is a really valuable thing to remember, what you can and can't control, especially when the world around you seems a little bit crazy, because a lot of the stuff that is scary or will phase you are the things that you can't control. Point number 3, be objective rather than subjective. Look at the facts in any situation rather than the feelings. When you're at work or you have your own business, you get so involved in situations that seem really personal to you that we tend to not remember to always look to the actual fact of a situation. So say you've had a really bad day, or a project that you're working on is really not going according to plan. You have to say to yourself, okay, how can I look at this from an objective point of view? So you take your feelings out of it. You look at the facts right in front of you. It enables you to look at things in a much wider context. When you're faced with a situation like this, where you really think, oh God, I need to be objective on this one, ask yourself the question, how can this be done rather than how can I do this? So it enables you to look at it in a broader way. One of the biggest things, and this is point number 4 that I want to make about developing a growth mindset, is your whole attitude towards learning. And a lot of people think that they've got to a point in life and they've learned as much as they can. The saying is, what is it? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Successful people realise that their attitude towards learning is the thing that gives them the edge over the people that decide they can't. So being curious, being inquisitive about things. If you can do this, you're already half the way there to having a growth mindset. Now, there's a lady called Carol Dweck, she is the godmother, shall we say, of the growth mindset movement. And this is my favourite hack that I'm about to share with you. She says adding the word yet to things is really, really important and powerful when you want to approach things with a growth mindset. So, and this is actually a really good thing to share with your children. When you think that you can't do something, quietly say to yourself, I can't do this yet. And use this with your children, because it means you're not done with this. You can keep learning. And I think with anything, so as I've proved with my YouTube channel, it's not great. I haven't got it perfect, that's for sure. In fact, it's far from perfect. I'm experiencing failures all the time, but I just am not going to give up yet. I'm going to keep going. And this is really important to me because it allows me to look at things in a different way. It means that things aren't finished. I haven't stopped my journey yet. It also means that our ability to learn is not linear. It's not straightforward. It comes in a curve. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. How do you make sure that you maintain your own growth mindset? And if there's one point that I can make that I hope comes across from this, is that you have a choice in how you move forward and take action. You can either choose to stay fixed, to stay the same, to not want to learn, to not be afraid of failure, or you can choose to change things and make a difference. So you have a choice, as I said, over your actions. You control far more than you think that you do. You can't control your external environment. You can't change what's going on in the world. But what you can control is how you react to it and how you choose to move forward. If you've enjoyed this and you found it at all useful, I would love you to subscribe and share it with anybody that you think it might help.